it has quite a long history, does GenderInSITE. And it really all started in 1993 when the United Nations set up a commission on science and technology for development, and 53 governments were invited to nominate their delegate to the commission. I was fortunate to have been appointed by the UK government to be the British delegate. And since it was our first meeting, we debated on what criteria we should use for choosing topics for detailed analysis by the Commission and by the commissioners or the delegates. We looked ahead to 1995, 2 years on, and one of the major conferences was the Women's Conference in Beijing. And so we thought, well, perhaps we should address the science and gender dimensions related to that conference. Well, we put together, we asked to volunteer, members of the Commission volunteer to be on the different working groups, and I volunteered to be on the gender one. And so did 7 others. So we had a team of 8 who had volunteered to be on the gender working group. I have to say we were all men. And that was because of the 53 governments who had appointed delegates, 51 of them had appointed men and only 2 had appointed women. And the 2 women didn't volunteer to be on this working group. Well, we knew right from the start that if 8 men prepared however erudite a report, it would be disregarded by at least half the world's population. And so we decided that the best thing we could do, if we could persuade the UN to do it, would be to recruit 8 women who were all authorities on gender and science from around the world. And Shelley Malcolm, for example, was the American that was on this working group. And that was agreed, so we had 16, and because I'd formally proposed it at the commission, I was asked to be chair of it. And we had 5 meetings in different parts of the world over a 15-month period. We commissioned a lot of background studies on gender and agriculture, gender and health. We analyzed and reviewed, certainly collected, the massive amounts of journal articles and books and reports. And that led to a pretty authoritative report. Amongst all of this literature and all the commission papers, the main focus were on the contributions that women could make to science itself, and to also address the problems facing girls' education in science and technical subjects at school. But another set of issues hadn't received quite as much attention, and that was if we studied development projects which were trying to introduce new technologies which would benefit people in the developing world, particularly in agriculture, but often in health as well, we found that as we analyzed the material we collected, that it wasn't people that were benefiting, it was men that were benefiting. And that there was, in fact, a gender dimension to the introduction of innovation into development programs. And people who were responsible for introducing those programs were not themselves deliberately trying to benefit men to the disadvantage of women. They were trying to help people, and there just had not been that recognition of the gender dimension. It is not only a woman's issue, it's also a men's issue. And it being recognized that it's a societal issue involving men and women is so critically important that men take this on board and that women take on board the fact that they shouldn't be dealing with this themselves. And it made us realize there needed to be a major effort to carry out gender assessments, apply a gender lens, as we say. So we conceived the idea of creating a gender advisory board to the UN Commission with the objective of helping countries that wanted to implement our gender report, but also being there to comment and criticize all future work done by the Commission, and we would try and put in the gender lens. The real need at that time was for an organization which helped create awareness, and awareness at most aspects of development, to be honest, for women in science and science for women. And we thought of something like, it became GenderInSITE, but we couldn't get it off the ground because we were an advisory group to an advisory group in the UN system. We had no legal standing. We couldn't take on board to do it. And so what we did was to team up with TWOS, the Academy of Sciences of the Developing World, and the Organization of Women Scientists, put together a concept paper, and we managed to get CEDA funding, and that's the origin of GenderInSITE.